Welcome back to the Path of Purpose podcast, where you are joined with the Brotherhood team here weekly, where just like you, we are on a path to living a life of purpose. Today we have a special guest, Jack White, who is also labelled as Attuned on Instagram and on YouTube. He is phenomenal at connecting the mind and the body coherently, and he dives in today speaking on his father who passed back when he was 19, and from the experiences that brought up with emotions and how that has interlinked into his life, and how he has built a beautiful connection with his body and the lessons within that. So tune in, buckle up, we've got an epic episode, we don't hold back, we'll see you in there.
We have a special guest, Jack White. He's underscore attuned on YouTube and Instagram, and yeah, he's our special guest today, and we're looking forward to having a conversation with him. But first of all, we'll do our ritual. We'll start with our wins, our lesson from the week, and our motto going forward into the week. So we'll start with Mr. Guy Anderson.
Bugger. Hey, my win for the week would be, last week was we got a lot of little tasks done, but we had the paddock games on the weekend, which was just a awesome event of competition and community bonding out on Martin's farm. Thank you, Martin, for hosting us. It was just so cool Martin had a home natural lake with lily pads, and there was blue lotus flowers up on the side, and it was just like a swamp. Kind of. We realised
the first explanation.
yeah, but then once we got into it, it looks beautiful from the top, and then you get in there and it's like you're chowing through all the thick scrub and stuff, but it was just so fun. It was just really awesome to just get into the nitty gritty of things and have a lot of fun doing that. So that was a big win there. I loved that.
Maybe even what was the paddock games maybe explain what it was and
every month we have a house challenge. So we've got 4 houses: the house of Leonidas, Spartacus, Ragnar, and Brennus. And so there's 2 house captains. Well, there's a house captain and a vice captain within each team, and it's up to them to come together, and every month it sort of alternates between which house gets to do a house challenge. So they come up together with a challenge. So Martins and Ashens, who are the captain and vice captain for Leonidas, came up with the paddock games, and so they were so they came up with a series of challenges that their team had to embark on and complete, and it was just great fun. It was just proper farmer strength sort of stuff, and it was a good time. So that was a win there, and the lesson would be Georgia went away over the weekend, went down south to Melbourne, and so I was just enjoying time to be with the guys and just be with myself a bit and over the weekend, and that was nice. So it's cool that she'll be coming back, and I'll be able to be proactive around creating time for us this week. So following this, actually going to pick her up from the airport, so that'll be good. But just the lesson was make sure I carve out those times for me as well, because that's equally as important. So mantra for the week: time for me. There you go.
Love it.
Jack.
Yeah. You, brother?
Should we jump straight into
the
win, lesson?
Yeah, win and then lesson,
cool.
or however order you want to do it.
Win this week has definitely been training a bit more.
Nice.
So I'm feeling the satisfied, cooked feeling of a few heavier days.
Nicely.
What
does a heavier day look like? Sorry, real quick.
Just barbell stuff, just some Olympic lifting, and then some gymnastic stuff. So last session was, what did we do? Bunch of plank to pikes, bunch of weighted dips, the Indian club. You played with Indian clubs?
Done the mace.
Yeah, so similar, but just going to town with tricep extensions and just really opening up, and then some toes to bar, strict toes to bar with a med ball between the knees.
Oh,
just connecting everything.
Yeah. Full body, but really nice. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Get in your body.
And then lesson, I think, I think taking some intentional space to sit with my direction. So I've just moved house, had a few changes going on, and a lot of good things moving in my life, but also it stirs things up and you just get like carried away with the flow of it, and you get excited, and then you get tired, and then you sort of, it's easy to just tune out to take time for yourself, but so, sort of like tuning in and taking more time for myself and actually sitting with some specific ideas, or letting some things marinate, but with some intentional focus at the same time. Yeah. So that's been a
structured alone time kind of thing.
Yeah, structured, intentional alone time.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, so what's your sort of, do you have like a mantra or come up one going into the week?
Honestly, this is just coming through my head. First thing that comes to my mind. It ain't shit.
Nice.
But where that comes from, I think, is the idea of like completely embracing changes and things that you love and things that are maybe challenging, but just not making anything more of it than the direct experience of it, which is actually really full and really wholesome. But like just leaving it at that. And onward.
Yeah.
100%.
And overcomplicate it. Nice. Thanks for sharing, bro. My wins for the week. I just felt like I spent some good quality time with some great people, like on the weekend and doing odd jobs here, and my partner. I just felt like it was a very fulfilling in the social aspect, a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's a win. And my lesson probably tied into that, and it's probably more of a reminder, but it was like just like the good people I have in my life, like how I was walking on the beach this morning and it actually come up, and I was like, fuck, I'm so grateful for like the people I have in my life. And I was like walking along the beach, the sun rises, and so definitely something about that time of morning. And I just got that sense of and it was more of a reminder, like, man, these people in your life are awesome, and like treat them like that. So that was a cool sort of reminder and lesson to do. And going into the week, my motto, I'm doing the 3 Ps. You know what they are? I'm kind of making this up, so you probably don't know. Could be anything. I just want to see your guess.
Productivity? No?
Nah, that's not a bad guess. You got
Purpose.
Oh, nah.
Podcast.
So I got podcast, play. No, I've got
Penis.
there we go. Someone had to do it. I've got presence, posture, and power.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So that's
Love
that's
that.
what I'm going with this. Yeah, that felt good.
3 Ps.
So that's me, and thanks for all sharing, guys. So this conversation, we obviously got Jack on, so we're going to get into a lot of the stuff he's got to share and his work, and just where the conversation flows as well. I was probably thinking of starting. How did you get into sort of the mind body stuff as such? Like, how did you start to bridge that connection? Like, where were the roots, I guess?
The roots were in suffering.
Okay.
Chronic lower back pain.
Yeah.
I would say that's the glue that started to bring everything together, and I had to start problem solving beyond just like biomechanics.
And how did you hurt your back?
Just back squatting.
Yeah.
So I'd been on a flight a few days before, and I'd had a couple training sessions at this CrossFit box, done some power cleans and stuff, like was feeling pretty good. But then on a warm-up set, around like 70% weight, just felt a couple of pops on one of my reps, and immediately was like, oh shit, like that feels really like searing, gnarly pain. And then that was the initial injury event, and then obviously what I've learned since then is that the whole cocktail of experiences, like expectations, emotional experiences, how you respond in early rehab can all kind of shape what you make of the injury. But back then I didn't really know, like I was didn't really know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, let's do some like bird dogs and like,
Yeah.
let's hope for the best and
Crab
see what
walks.
happens. So,
Yeah. Okay. So then you realised that the mind was connected in with that. Like, how did you go solving all that?
So yeah, the thing with chronic pain is like the longer it sticks around, the more likely it is to be psychosomatic, or it's like mental, relational, emotional, and it's, you know, the tissue damage usually heals pretty quickly, like in the scheme of things, 3 to 6 months or whatever. So I kind of just realized that I'd gone through a period of heavy stress, and I had like a relational issue, like travels, breakups. I'd also had some grief, probably unprocessed, from my dad's passing a few years before. So it was all just like, I think I'd used training to keep firing on all cylinders and to just keep throwing something at the wall and to feel powerful. And then when I didn't have that coping mechanism, a lot of the other unprocessed stuff just came right to the surface. But I didn't know that that was even happening. My life was just going a bit haywire, and I had no idea what was happening. So
Right, yeah, that's a bit. So then, so it's, suffering, as you said, going through it, and then
pretty much.
so like, how do you handle those, like the suffering now, like all those things? Like, do you realize, like how do you find the whole connection piece with your body? Like, say if you have an injury now, do you not tell yourself a story about it, or is it?
Yeah, I think part of this not storytelling approach is more natural now because I've had a lot of injuries and niggles. Thankfully, not too many major injuries, but like just been physical and training long enough to know that it's part of it. It's not like you've grandly messed up. It's just part of pushing yourself.
Yeah.
So I can see it kind of clinically. I'm just like looking at my life stress. And if that's a bucket, then I know that that bucket's overflowing and some part of my body's telling me like, oh, you've just pushed it a bit far. So rather than seeing that as like, oh no, my stupid shoulder or the shitty back, I'm just like, oh, maybe it's not that I'm injury prone. Maybe it's not this whole story. It's just, there's your stress bucket. There's the thing that revealed it to you. Thank you for revealing that to me. What do I need to do to course correct?
Yeah. That's interesting, like the signals and that, because Guy's got a good thing, you know what you talk about the signals, your three layers.
The
feather,
breaking the bus,
Because it's like, Guy, what do you say? It's like the universe gives you signals, like, you know, it's a feather at the start, you know, you might not notice it, then it's a bus or something, and then it's the bloody, you know, plane. I don't know. But how do you tap into like listening to those signals, I guess, where you realise like, hey, I might be out of balance here. Like, how do you kind of tap in to read what you need for the day or for the moment or for your training? Or...
So just, I guess, if it's like the feather is the first stage and then there's like a bus or whatever, that's like you haven't been listening or you haven't known how to pay attention, and there it is. From going through loops of that, I've just started to develop more of a natural curiosity, kind of made peace with the fact that things come up to a degree. And then the natural curiosity means I'm just nerding out over like what my body's doing. I'm just super interested in everything that's happening. And I think it's really important as that's developing to also then reduce the storytelling, but to open up the potential to recognize patterns. Like when I felt this in my body, what had just happened? And is that something that's recurring?
Cool.
Yeah. Because if you develop more sensitivity and you're paying attention to everything, but you're also going to storytelling, then you just become a bit of a neurotic kind of hypochondriac, and you're kind of still dissociating in a way, but kind of into fixing yourself or into the fear of what might be going wrong.
Yeah.
So it's kind of centered in breath, posture, joy, curiosity, and then just listening and, well, what's this? What's that?
Yeah, like it's not a bad, like even if something pops up, it's not a bad thing that you're in pain or you're in injury, like not creating this story. It's like, more of a curiosity approach.
100%, man. Just part of life. And also this is why I kind of, shifting the paradigm a little bit from pain as problem to pain as teacher. pain can be a problem, but it's more a problem in the sense of like a puzzle or like a maths problem or something, or like a relationship with your body that you're developing, and pain is just one piece of information.
Yeah.
And there's
that's cool.
a bunch of other types of info that are equally fucking interesting, and they all belong.
Yeah.
What age did you lose your dad?
19.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And is this when you had this like all grand awakening into, because the way I view you, and we said this after, for background context as well, so we were fortunate to have you come and host an event here for all the fellas. There's about 40 guys that came, and the intention, I believe, behind the event was, or what you helped to educate them, is to get a lot of the guys present with the feelings and the nature of their body, and getting them tapped into the intuition and the signs, as we've spoken on as well, about how that you can become more present with your body. And I feel that's your gift, but also where I see your gift as well is just your nature as a human being is so grounded and so present, and you're so here. And that is something that I feel, were you like that before the incidents with your father or your back? I know this is all sort of interlinked, but I'm going from there into,
Yeah, nice.
Well, thanks, man. First of all, appreciate the reflection, and yeah, it was super fun to be here and do the workshop.
Yeah, it was epic. Thanks.
Yeah, so I was very present to certain things. I was always very like physical and loved sport, and I was like, my dad was like, "Oh, kick on your left foot as well as your right," and all these things. So I was like really interested in skill and kind of present to that, but I wasn't as present to it was very external. I wasn't really aware of my relationship with myself. So like even when dad passed away, my processing was very external. Like I went into task mode or like higher functioning mode.
Yeah.
But there was a degree to which that wasn't super sustainable. And I think that's okay. Not everything has to be sustainable. It can just fill a role, for a certain time. But I wasn't as present to the way I was like relating to people or relating to myself. I wasn't as present to the fact that I would use forcefulness kind of all the time and intensity all the time towards myself and towards others. Or rather than be intense towards others, I would suppress. And then so it wasn't so much his death that brought that up as like a breakup with someone who I'd been friends with for a long time before we dated. And it's like that brought me into my heart and kind of confronted me with some things. And that kind of like pulled the lid off the pressure cooker of all of this like unsat with pain. So I would say that was the thing. It was actually a breakup, but that revealed all of the shit that was there. And that's when I kind of started to I realized there's nowhere I can go. Like I can't get away from this. Like this is in me. This is me. This is my life. So I learned to just started meditating a bit, and it's kind of the beginning.
What's the pain that you're having to sit with? Like these are emotions, I'm assuming. And so like, what are you trying to find peace with it? Like, grief, I'm assuming. And yeah, how did you sort of move through that, or what was the grieving process can be, I know what you mean, like some people, they override it with the hyper mentality of like, oh no, I'm all good, that staunch kind of overriding it, rather than how important is it to actually sit and sit with those emotions, allow them to land, and then through your own evolution.
Yeah, man, like it's kind of all important in my experience. And we kind of need a level of perceived safety to sit with them. When we're more familiar with sitting with emotions, like we realize it's not the end of the world. Like you're just sitting with a feeling and it passes.
Yeah.
But I think before you're familiar with doing that, there's this expectation, or for me, there was this weird unconscious association with the emotion and this whole story. And the story about like what I failed at or what could have been different. So when I was initially sitting with the pain, there was a feeling in my body. Like it literally felt like heartbreak. It literally felt like how can my body be going through such a painful internal experience right now, and I'm still here, like I'm still alive, and like it was
that's crazy.
bizarre.
Eh? Like nothing from the external just looks like you're sitting there, and then this internal feeling is just like heart rate. Yeah.
How can this thing contain that much, like, ouch?
Yeah,
You almost
so interesting.
so like, if speaking to the pain of it, it was like, I wasn't super aware of the dialogues or stories or unconscious beliefs at that time. I didn't really know. I was just hurt and sort of. But yeah, it was this. My rock bottom then was the feeling of like, I'm basically in so much pain I want to die, but I'm like scared of dying, so I can't check out. But staying feels equally shit. So I'm just sitting there like, there's nowhere else to go, you know.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to soften to a degree. So I put on some Alan Watts and stuff, and I had a few little books like Eckhart Tolle, and my brother gave me some nice pointers. So
so like accepting those feelings, was that a way to get out? Like how was like that transition of like getting through that and feeling a higher quality life?
First thing was probably just realizing that I could watch them, and I could identify as the one watching. It's probably the first big like shift for me.
Meditation practices for that, or
and I got really into meditation. I got really into just like watching things and like almost forgetting what I thought I knew about them and just like observing things.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
What do you perceive to be the greatest problem in the world at the moment?
That's such a fucking ripper question and so huge. Or I think, like, we're not at peace with our need to have problems. Yeah. So I think like we're problem solving by nature, and there's things that we do like we're driven to solve. Like that's the reason we're not like living. We're not all living in the bush, and we've built things and. But somehow we're not at peace with the fact that we need to do that. And because we don't know we need to do that, we end up finding weird games to create and play that are sometimes a bit cooked. You know, like we create problems without meaning to in areas that we're not consciously creating in.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of conscious problem creation.
Yeah.
As well as like solving stuff.
That's cool.
And then you can just accept that that's how you are. And then there's a bit of an exhale of like, oh, all right.
Yeah, there's always going to be problems. And like, meaningful problems. So how do you go, like, you said finding peace, that there's always going to be problems. Like, was that the kind of you think? A lot of people don't have that, They're like a problem and it's just like, so how do you find the peace in that? Is it just knowing that that's always going to arise?
For me personally, it seems like that's it. It seems like as soon as you expect a solution to be like the solution, the solution to outlive all others, you're kind of fucked. Because at that point, there's going to be another natural shift and lesson, and something's going to move. Yeah. So if you know that your problem solving process is just that, and that it will continue until the day you die, then you can kind of sit through that or walk through that or move through that in a way that feels good.
Yeah.
Or better. You know.
Getting a better relationship with it. There's always going to be there.
Yeah, not trying to escape the human condition. You're just like, well, I'm going to own the fact that it could be messy, and that's no one's fault. It's not my fault. That's not your fault. That's just what we're dealing with.
So is that your purpose in the world? Is that why you do what you do?
I think...
Because I do think you bring that.
Well, thank you. Yeah. If that's what's received and that's meaningful, then I guess it's a purpose. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the purposes I'm leaning into at the moment is this idea of authentic expression. But not in the way where you're trying to be really you. You're kind of just like allowing yourself to not know what you might express next. So it's not predetermined. So it's more authentic because you don't actually know it. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
I was literally doing that in meditation today with Cass, and I was sitting there in my body, and then I was just kind of allowing my body to like move. Like it was just felt like it was being And then, because then I judged it, I'm like, what? I'm swaying. Why am I swaying? Stop swaying. And then I was like, actually, fuck it, just let it do what it wants to do, you know, like. And then so I tried to get, you know, that mind where the mind's like overpowering and going, you're moving now, you're trying to move now, you know. It's like telling it so, and I feel like that's the connection between the mind and the body, that you're trying to establish that authentic connection with the body, where it can just be its own separate thing, where the body, you know, isn't governed by the mind in every moment, but more so it's like in that intuitive sort of presence with itself, where it's just doing its thing. And it's like, if you can have the body on autopilot, where it's just kind of has the freedom to express itself, what a gift, or like what a beautiful thing to have, especially for men.
Yeah, and I guess you got to take away probably like the judgment as well.
Yeah.
Like because that's what will happen if like you just want to express naturally, then it's going to be like probably going to do some stuff where I'm not planned out, and maybe I do something where I'm like, oh, what? So it's like if you take that judgment away, then it's like you like can happily make a mistake or do something where it's like, oh, I did that and I thought that was the right thing, but it didn't feel right. But you know, if I don't judge myself, then it's like I'm not going to hold on. I can keep flowing.
Yeah.
As such.
I feel that's exactly what you were educating when you came in the other week, and you had the guys like holding hands, two men holding hands, but like pushing into each other and just feeling their natural connection with each other, where it's like, I've got your weight, we're balancing with each other, but if I push too hard, I'm overpowering you, and then you've got to push back equally as hard. And I feel that's where getting guys to sort of tap into that bodily thing and removing the judgment of, oh geez, here I am like kind of touching another guy or whatever, you know what I mean? But I feel like that was how you are doing exactly what you are, the authentic expression. Like you were allowing guys in a space to develop that skill or hone that skill. Yeah, and so when you speak into that being your purpose, I feel like, yeah, when people turn to your page on Attuned and stuff like this, is this what are you giving them, or what's your product, or what is it that you teach, or
yeah, it's ideally, I don't know, if I tie it into one thing, it's probably just trusting and being curious about your observations of yourself. There's more of a bodily focus for some of it, and other stuff it's just observing behavior. But the really cool thing about the blend is that like when you observe the body closely enough, or you're observing body language, then the behavior that you're studying is not like subject to mental masturbation and trickery and almost deceit. Like your body doesn't know how to do that. You just have these really, really subtle physiological changes. And then you have this whole social mind that labels stuff, like you were saying, Curtis, judgment. And actually, if we like cycle back to the question you asked me, what's the biggest problem? I think a really tricky one is shame. So I think you have the biology and what bodies naturally do and how we naturally regulate and connect and thrive. And then you have the social mind that doesn't fully understand how intelligent that is, and it shames it. So like, you know, for some reason you find yourself swaying. The conditioning comes in. Like I have heaps of that too. Like, and then you're like, oh, hang on, what's that voice? Am I choosing that? Like, is that for my betterment, or is that just the best model I've been taught to?
Is that just like social? Is that like from a like tribal nature, just wanting to fit in, don't want to? Yeah, where do you think that comes from? That sort of like, that sort of shame and like I shouldn't do that, or you know that stops that authentic expression. Like, where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure. But one thing that I've been thinking into is the difference between guilt and shame, and how shame seems to be this kind of like nondescript, lingery sort of stifle energy. But guilt is usually about something, and you can usually identify a particular behavior or event, and you know why it wasn't the right choice. But that's hindsight, right? And hindsight is easier to have when you're not stuck in shame. So the irony about shame is that your shame doesn't seem to help you self-reflect and make better choices. It just kind of gets you stuck in the fog.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's kind of what it, like shame tends to be. It's like, yeah, it's real foggy, and it's like, it's no good in there. It's no good.
Like, what do you want me to do with it? Like, yeah, I feel ashamed. I feel small. I feel useless. And what shall I do?
Yeah.
Act from a small, useless feeling place?
What? Yeah, where's the lessons in that, The shame. There's got to be some lessons in there, surely. Like, shame, is that, yeah, you just acted in a, well, I guess that's how you learn. Maybe you acted in a way that wasn't, aligned with your values, and you feel shameful. So then if you didn't have that painful feeling, then it's like, you'd probably just do it again, So.
The book, man. That, like, so you have
Yeah.
you have a feeling. It's like, oh, that's gross. Maybe that's shame. And then it's almost like maybe we transfer it into guilt by getting specific. And then once we really understand what happened and why, because we've self-reflected, then you're like, oh, don't even need to feel guilty. I'll just do differently next time.
Yeah. I think that transition is so important for people, because I feel like people can get stuck in the guilt and the shame, like that forgiveness, like, just forgive yourself. Like, I don't know how you guys go about that transition, but I feel like that's a big one for people,
I feel like, as I'm sitting here, I'm listening, because I feel like shame would be the exact opposite to what you were saying of authenticity. I think shame would be a clear reflection that it does not resonate as authentic to you, and it's you going completely against yourself, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why it shows up in the body as like that crippling kind of like, that was fucking weird. That's out of touch with my character. But then I wanted to link I've done ecstatic dances and stuff like that before, and that's something where there's a lot of, for me, and I know that it's a bridge that we've got to cross, like in terms of getting more comfortable with expressing that authenticity of all the movement within the body, because for a context in ecstatic dances where you're in a room with a bunch of people that you've probably never even met before, and then there's a DJ playing some music, and their intention would be to probably build a vibe where you feel you can tap into fully expressing yourself and moving in ways that probably are suppressed because they're criticised or judged as wrong. So that's an opportunity for you to just unleash, really. And I've been in those spaces before, and although there are elements when I can access that place of freedom within that, I feel from your event I was able to tap into myself more in that space. Like, that is how I want to be guided and expressing my natural flows. Like, I even found myself sort of, getting connected with my body and my shoulders and stuff. And even following that, going into the week following, like, I found I was doing just in the mirror, or I was just jumping up and I was playing more, like hanging off bars, and I was able to, like, my mind-body connection was enhanced. Like, I was able to access those parts of my body that were, that I hadn't had that connection with before.
I second that for sure. I felt like exactly what your business name, attuned. I felt like coming out of the event, I felt just way more attuned, which was a great feeling. And that creates space within as well. I felt like it was more like, dropping some of those random stories or stories that aren't serving, and literally felt more attuned within my body. So like that was so cool. Like, thanks for that. But you keep going.
I was just sharing my experience. And then how did you pursue? What was the pursuit of? Because I've seen you in horse dance, and you've spoken about how you overcome that mind and that body. Like, you're really just. Is this something that you've just practiced over and over, where you can stand in this position and, like, kind of phase out? The marathon runners probably do it as well, where they hit the wall. But it seems like you try and encounter the wall of your mind and your body, like, regularly, hey?
It comes up in different ways as well. So sometimes it's a stance, and then sometimes I don't even have to. It's just like somatic work. It's just feeling into an emotion. Just what is the sensation of the emotion? And sometimes that's, like, scarier to me than a stance, So it can come in all shapes and sizes. But I'm definitely trying to I'm trying to meet whatever the wall is without deciding that it's a wall, basically. I'm like, I know there's something here and I'm feeling a lot, but I'm not going to decide what it is. I'm just going to stay a bit longer and see.
Yeah.
Are you trying
that's
to
the
not
goal.
act emotionally either? Like you're just trying to like be in it without reacting to it?
Yeah, you could say that. So I have a fantastic teacher who I haven't worked directly with for like a few years, and then a few years before that we just have these like encounters every couple of years now, but he always drops these nugs. And non-reactivity was like one word that he's like,
Yeah.
non-reactivity.
Yeah.
And this comes through martial arts, it comes through relationships, it comes through creativity and healing, like not reacting to fear, not reacting to emotion. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Not making an enemy of it.
Yeah, that's not making it, because if you react out of something that wasn't, then you can cause that bad stuff, and then that's where that shame, looping back to that shame, that could happen again. So so with the horse stance, what sort of lessons do you get out of it? Where's the like, what's the reasoning behind you doing it?
It's just a little mirror or reference point, and it's I don't always know what the lesson's going to be. I like the approach of just rocking up, kind of like strapping in, choosing a depth, working at that depth, sometimes with the timer, sometimes without, often without. Because when you don't know how long it's going to go for or what the time is on the clock, it's all about you. It's like, it's not about getting to 5 minutes so you can tick the box in the diary.
There's
it's
no
like,
external.
were you really were you in? Were you really there? And if you were really there, maybe it doesn't matter if it was super hard and super shaky.
Where's there?
There is just beyond the labels, or there is whatever the thing is left when you keep shedding.
Like go ahead. In the moment, just without the labels. Is that what it is?
Essentially,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of ways to describe it. Like one way is groundless ground. Go into some, so it's like you're present, but I don't know what I'm present to. I've made some level of commitment though. There is some level of commitment to like stay in this posture and position and to like face whatever arises, but I don't know what's going to arise. So,
Is that an active meditation for you?
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that I'm teaching is just Taoist standing meditation.
Yeah.
And how do you feel like, that takes a level of courage doing that and then going right there. So you're getting rid of the layers and just, getting right to the source or whatever. How do you feel like after, like a standing practice or a practice where you fully committed and you're right there?
Usually there's a sense of pride, which is kind of nice. I think the part of you that shows up, practices, just for anything that you show up for intentionally and you kind of do what you set out to do, I think pride's like a healthy emotion to feel,
Builds confidence.
And there's a sense of trust, like I trust myself. And then I also often, the feeling can be quite different from day to day. Like some days I don't feel as strong as I expect to. Some days I feel stronger. Some days I feel like I'm getting stuck in this like invisible head cage of an attitude or who I think I am about the practice. Other days I'm just there like watching if I'm doing it next to Bruns River, just watching the water. So you can have all these really different experiences of what's actually happening. And the trickier part is getting attached to the experience that you're hoping for rather than just rocking up,
That's so true.
Because you try to create, you naturally tend, or I do, to create these like, if I did that on that day and I felt pride, then I just need to do that again. It's like, no, maybe that was just that day.
If I do the same morning routine, I'll feel exactly that again.
Exactly. You go hunting for the feeling again.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. With because I feel like your initial, I feel like, and if I'm to try and view your story as to the suffering that you went through, and then how you, especially with your back, linked to your back, and you've tried to come about with this purpose to help people in their body in terms of relieving pain. And I feel like you do that through, Kurt's done it as well, and he's done some mentorship with you, I believe, and putting the body in, in complex sort of positions where it wouldn't ordinarily go, and when the body goes in unordinary positions, then it builds strength to the unordinary. And I feel like that's how you've rehabilitated bodies. And but what I feel like is the deeper layer to this is what you're actually trying to cultivate within other people is, that presence to their body, and then they're just finding the peace within those moments. I feel, can you elaborate on that more for yourself? Because it's like, this is my interpretation of the work you're doing. But for anyone else out there, or maybe you just speaking on it, it's like getting to the root of what you're really trying to bring about in people.
Yeah, so it's two aspects that go hand in hand, and one is just like building the structure of your body, building your connection with your body, functioning better in the world, like being able to move better, being able to breathe better, all of these things. Like we can we have more physical experiences available to us when we have a fully functioning body.
Yeah.
All kinds of experiences, not just physical either, because sometimes the physically functioning body can take us to a place where there's another realm of experience. But also, there's a lot of experiences open to us that come through chaos and not having things go well. And I think when you can see that as an equally fertile playing field, it reduces suffering. And you can choose the inevitable suffering from a place of empowerment, even though you can't shift the external. So it might get to a point in our lives at some stage where there is no grass is greener of like, oh yeah, I'm going to go surf again. Like, we're all going to have a final surf at some point, Like, it's sobering to think about. So if your orientation is purely around like how well you can function, but it's not also based around how well you can let go, then your practice is only kind of covering half of the human experience. And then when the other half comes along and no one's fucking talking about it because they're all ashamed of it, then you're left feeling like you're alone.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I try to just give that a little bit of acknowledgement too.
That's the cycle of life, like, as well. You've got to acknowledge that. It's such a cool thing to acknowledge, because we want to, focus on these high performing, high this and that, and when there's no problem, and how can you be your best, but it's like, how can you still operate well or live a quality life when things aren't going well, and get the lessons out of it and all that stuff, hey? Like, so important to, those both sides, and acknowledging that that's life. Like, shit's going to happen.
And you're never going to be ready for the real shit. So, I'm not saying that my training gets you ready for, there's things you can't be ready for. But at least there's a little degree of, maybe we can guide each other into the unknown, and maybe we can just, microdose some little deaths, and it can be, actually liberating and a bit less scary.
Yeah. I reckon it definitely helps.
Yeah.
100%.
I love what you said of, you've touched on experience, life and the human experience, and these are all just micro experiences within the giant sum of the entire experience. And even what I just found gratitude for was you saying a fit, functional, mobile body is just, you're creating more opportunities for yourself. You're giving yourself a opportunity to have more experiences, and that's absolutely worth pursuing. I don't know what proportion of the world out there are training, or that aren't training. You know what I mean? But God, I feel like that's such a waste to not have the gift of mobility, and to move and to function and not be utilizing it. I wonder for those people that are that aren't moving the body, and say this reaches their ears, what would you recommend to be just a good start if they're just starting out. They can't find the courage, they can't find the willpower to move the body. If they're wanting to experience more opportunities of life, like what would be some tips that you could give them to just tap into their body a bit more and get them started on that journey?
Awesome question, man. So I think it's like a relationship with an old friend in those cases, where you might not have caught up with the old friend for a while, and you probably have a little bit of a sense of guilt that you haven't. And you're like, how am I going to broach this? And people are probably a bit scared of what they might feel. Like, oh, fuck, I'm not 16 anymore. Last time I kicked a ball, I was. Now I'm 45. Like, This is going to be humbling. So I don't think we're ready for that experience sometimes. So I like the idea of just dosing a bit of comfort in the body, but not through like I don't mean numb comfort. I mean like actual joy, like connecting with something that brings you some joy and noticing where that arises. Could be like a really nice cacao or like even a coffee, whatever it is that helps you feel your body. And then just notice that you're feeling your body and notice that your body feels good and it's a nice place to be. And then when your body feels good and it's a nice place to be, where can this feeling lead me? Like, is it on a walk? Is it on a jog? Is it like in for a hug? Do I want to feel the water on my skin? And then it's like, you're like a kid again. And that's the thing we all lose. Like we think, you hear it so much in, like there'll be someone listening to this might know someone or be someone like, oh, my personal trainer said I should do this, but I haven't been doing it, and I know I should because I know I can. And it's just like, it's not about anyone but you, man. Like, have some fun. Like, it's your body.
Yeah.
Find some fun again.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah, nice.
That's so good. Yeah, I think a lot of people are missing that. That's the intuitive thing. Like just getting that's your gift, is getting people to feel those senses and bring them up. And I remember I pitched a question that was kind of similar to that, and I loved your answer. And I asked a question. I believe it was something along the lines of, you've got a client or you've got a new person that's come to you and he's asking for your help and your guidance, and he's 18 years old, he's never been in a gym before, and he's uncoordinated. And your answer, and this is in front of the rest of the gang and 40 guys, and you were just straight away just like, the way I would get him to start feeling that connection with his body is I'd play some music and get him to try and dance, or like get him to try and move with the music, with the rhythms. And I was like, God, that's such a fantastic answer. And I was just like, I was blown away. But I thought, what an interesting perspective to come at with music. And it just, because I don't know, it just blindsided me. I was like, that's like the deeper layer of the attunement is like music. How powerful, or how much of a role has music had to play in your practice?
Oh, it's been super powerful, but it's not something I've integrated enough. I'm actually kind of bringing it back now. It's like I've slept on it for a long time.
So you haven't been playing music for a lot? You kind of find your stillness and your practice through pure silence?
Yeah, there's definitely been a big period where I've done that. And I've just spent a lot of time sitting with my thoughts and whatever like grittiness the silence has.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's blissful, sometimes it's fucking gritty.
Yeah, sure.
But then I've remembered there's this whole thing of like, if you want to move in a way which is more intuitive and body-led, then having a beat and having a feeling or a vibration, it's much more sensory and it's much less cognitive. So, I mean, that's the kind of, going to the science behind it of basically like good movement is reflexive movement. It's just natural. It's like, like you don't tell LeBron how to like throw someone off balance. Like you could study it and you could try and explain it, but like that's not what's happening. He's not thinking. He's like,
it's natural.
It's just coming in through. So yeah, I'm definitely trying to reconnect with that, because I've had this thing in my head. It's dissolved more and more and more, but it's like I had training as one part of my life, then I had like dancing and going out as one part of my life, then I had like conversations as another, and I'm like, hang on, you go to a doof or something, or a festival, and you're like, this is the most embodied experience I've had, and I train 6 days a week.
Mm.
So, like, where's the...
Totally.
So I'm bringing it back in, like, much more music and much more, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Free flowing movement. Yeah.
Connect it all up.
Yeah. How are you, when you're saying you're bringing it back, what does that look like? What are you doing there?
Feeling into what my body wants to express, or what... it's like I'm sometimes matching my inner state with the music.
Mm.
So if I'm feeling a bit like chaotic or like, then I'll put on some, like Motorhead.
Yeah, but some grunge.
Yeah. Or like, there'll be some kind of rock. If
Yeah.
I'm feeling like a bit, miserable, maybe something melancholy, maybe some like XXX Tentacion.
Yeah.
But like, it's not, I'm exploring like shifting my state with music. Like,
Yeah.
let's switch it up.
Yeah.
And I'm also exploring like, what is the state that I can draw out and like savor.
Mm.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then there's still days where I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go train. Like, I want to get it done. Like, I want to build capacity.
Yeah.
I might not feel like it, but I'm going to be glad I did. But I'm also trying to feel into that space of like, if I wasn't that guy who had that history and those thoughts about being capable, then how would I actually move right now? Like, if I fully gave myself permission. So then music's like, what's the conversation between me and the music?
Mm. The rhythm.
The rhythm, eh?
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I think that's really good for people to take home. Is like, because you're meeting the body at its state, but then, and maybe that's where it needs to, just to allow movement is like playing that song that is melancholy, as you say, because that's where I'm feeling into. But then as the body probably starts to move, then the body will increase its tempo, and now you're suddenly craving something that is more upbeat, and you can work towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, coming straight in and playing Motorhead off the bat when you're feeling not that good, you're probably a bit like, the body's still not probably warm enough to be like ready to meet it at that state. So yeah, I think that's a really important lesson, hey?
Yeah, you're kind of embracing what you're feeling.
Meeting the biological need or the body's need. I like it. I was thinking about it. Biological. It's like it has its own logic, its own intelligence. Meeting that, it tends to shift so quickly. Like when you actually meet it and allow it, like you end up somewhere else in like 5 minutes time. But when you're in your head, you just think, if I'm here, I'm going to be stuck here forever unless I force something.
Yeah.
So I like that
That's
sort of
interesting.
space.
Yeah, because some people play music to like, maybe they're feeling sad and they play music to like, they play happy music to change how they're feeling. But it sounds like what's going on here as well is like, you play the music that you're actually feeling, so you're getting more like you're actually heightening probably that state to a degree. Is that where it is as well?
Yeah, I'm just trying to explore like, can I feel my emotions better, basically?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
That's cool. Yeah, I actually like that.
And then what happens after that? So.
Yeah, epic. Cool. What sort of like, what are like with your teachings? So you do like these baseline, like you do group online coaching and with groups of people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What are the biggest sort of transformations you see from your experience? You see in the people that you work with. Where do you see that transformation?
What you said earlier about like attunement and that feeling of having space or opening space, that space then seems to just be available for whatever it is that they're most interested in. So like some people are musical, like they play music, they write songs. So some of the feedback from them has been that they're just so inspired. They just have like songs coming through. There's just more space to like create. Which is pretty cool because it's not what I initially thought I'd be. I'm not like overtly offering that. And then other people, it's like that space isn't in the creative musical realm. It's like in their knee. Like they have chronic knee pain. Like one of my mates has a super clicky meniscus. He's had a bunch of surgeries. He was at the workshop, and he's got the same structural stuff going on in his knee, but there's just no pain, unless he really pushes. So you're taking out the reactivity and the fear from the system. And the nervous system's driving whatever you do. So like pain outcomes, creative outcomes. Some people end up like managing relationship conflict better because they're just more grounded and they've got space to feel their body. So some people are getting stronger, like they're literally just getting stronger on the rings from doing practices that involve just releasing the reactivity and releasing the tension and the fear to feeling. Kind of get out of your own way, but in like a physical sense.
That's great work, isn't it? That's God's work.
Oh geez, where was I going to go with that? I was sorry, it's locked in. Your ideal. Oh, that's where I was going. Is it your clients are predominantly men or young men, or where do you?
It's probably.
Or do you have women that are interested as well?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
It's probably about 60-40.
Yeah, to men.
Men, women.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Wow.
plenty of women, and yeah.
Sorry, that was my next question from that was, what is the interlink or what is the interplay that you see related from injury to the emotional connection that could be tied to? Do you see that expressing like in the metaphysical? Yeah.
100%, man. Everything from injury to like menstrual cycles.
Yeah.
Like when you remove the noise and the echoing in someone's system, it's like their natural rhythm can actually come through. Like we all have an innate biological rhythm, just like the circadian rhythm, but it's unique. And I think of like the excessive identification with dialogue or with old stale identities as like noise that you're laying over the music that the body's playing in a way. So you're kind of, you actually, you
I
can't
love
just...
your analogies, they're fucking brilliant. Continue.
Cheers, bro. Yeah, you can't just keep layering stuff up. You also have to remove the noise. But then once you have clear signals, you can harmonize with it and you can start adding stuff in the right ways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
So removing the noise, that's like, yeah, that's a task. Yeah. What's the ways? Is this a lot of your practices as well? They obviously your practices seem to remove the noise. Like how do you go about to help people remove the noise?
Yeah, so there's this part of it is getting into a state where you're task aware but you're not self-aware. So a lot of the stuff we did was partner based and rhythm based and connection based, like connections through the body structure. It's all like there's something that you're locking into and focusing on, but it's not like about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being task aware seems to be the realm where humans thrive. Like we are problem solvers. So you give us a problem and you say go, and we just try to make it happen. When you make people self-aware, that's when their judgments can come up, and they can come up unconsciously, like self-judgment or self-condemnation. So when you're teaching, you need to thread this space between helping someone just dive into a task and build an attribute and connect with their body directly. And you also need to do a bit of work in showing them where they're holding on to judgments or like self-talk that's got nothing to do with like themselves in a way.
That's epic.
I think I can't fully remember the question the way you phrased it, but
how they get rid of the noise, but that definitely answers a lot of it.
Yeah.
I reckon
you can. The more time you spend in a task aware or playful state of problem solving, the more you release fear, the more you're capable of looking at the self-reflection and the judgment and the stuff without just being like looking at it through a fearful lens and getting all stuck on it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I feel good without that, so I don't really need that anymore.
Yeah.
But if you take someone who hasn't gone through the embodiment and the playful part or the training or the connection, and you just take them straight into like self-awareness stuff and inquiry, then they're coming at it from a body that still feels like shit. So that's the lens they're going to see themselves through, and it's really hard for them to then like just reframe it. Like you can't bypass how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. There's lots of like there's layers to this, and it's also like systematic in a way, which is cool. But where did you like? Is this a lot of experiential knowledge, or is this like learning from people, or how did you sort of come to all these understanding these layers?
It's both, man. I've had some really cool teachers. I'm very fortunate. But like, to give myself credit, I'm also like an obsessive. I just love observing and listening. Like, I really just nerd out over this stuff. So I literally look at it's almost a bit, it could be a bit too much sometimes. I'm almost looking for like lessons from everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a quiet feeling lesson, don't always have words. But yeah, I've had teachers the guy I mentioned before, who plugged in the word non-reactivity. His name's Juan, and he is a absolute polymath. Like, he's an elite drummer, like heavy metal drummer, can hold down different beats with every limb, like insane. Was a gymnast, did Ido Portal stuff very closely with Ido. Martial arts, Qigong as well, integral psycho studies, psychotherapeutic style stuff. And he's just dropped me these nugs. And then once you start to see that this world of the body goes and like influences these other parts of life, then the curiosity builds, and then you can start to connect the dots. Like, there might be someone else. Like, I watched a YouTube video last night on a guy who was talking about body language profiling to tell how stressed people are and personality traits that are carved into their face through expression that's repeated over time. So I'm just always trying to connect these dots and like, oh, okay, what's going on here? You know?
That's cool.
Yeah, I can see how you dive deep on that and like nerd out on that stuff, and then even it'd be hard to switch it off. You know, I feel like you're probably so like obsessive in trying to, you know, the everything behind it's like should have actually probably switched it off at some point.
100%, man. That's really important for me.
Yeah, I love that though. I love that. That's obsession, and obsession is such you can judge. It's like, oh, geez, I'm so obsessed over things, but then at the same time, it's such a superpower when harnessed correctly. You've touched on some of your mentors and following your father like passing. Like, when did you receive that next male, like that? Who was the next closest to you that you found to have as a male role model, mentor, guide, and how important have they been for you?
Oh, dude, that's such a good question. So I kind of want to answer it on like a more seeker or searching level, and then maybe a more practical level.
Yep.
From the perspective of someone who had a father figure who then passes away, there was still an internalized sense of him as a dad, or his like belief in me, or his expectations, and it could feel heavy or it could feel supportive. Like, it becomes internalized, so I sort of carried that with me to a degree, and in some ways I even leaned into it at times for support. Just the memory. Like, there was a weightlifting comp, and I was like in the 105 category, but I was only 94.3 or something, and they'd put me up in the 105 because we had enough 94 kilo lifters, and I'm lifting against this dude who's just fucking weapon, just huge.
Yeah.
But I was fully like sitting there in the warm-up room, like thinking of my dad and fucking channeling it, and then I went out and like just massively PB'd and stuff.
Really?
And then I had a big cry afterwards.
Oh.
So like, there's something in there that once you've had it, it's never lost. But there's also a part of you that then naturally looks for other like leadership figures. My first proper male leadership figure that kind of stepped into that was my brother, Tom. So he was my half brother. So I have 3 half brothers. They're all almost like 20 years older. And he just was an absolute G. Like, I went through some stuff, the breakup that I mentioned. He's like, come live with me in the UK for 6 months. Just completely like, he has kids as well, but just really looked out for me. Yeah. So
What did you, when you say seek, what is it that you maybe at the time didn't realise that you needed but you received from him through his guidance or brotherhood?
Dude, the biggest one, I've recognised a systemic need for just encouragement. Like, so many men are aware of what they want to work on, and we're aware of where we can improve, and we want to improve, and we want to feel worthy of respect, or just to be understood. Just to be understood is enough usually for me. Like, I'll do whatever the fuck I have to if someone just sees that I'm doing it with my heart. So any figure to me who is almost unconditionally encouraging and truthful in the way they speak to me or other men without being dogmatic, I'm just like, you're a G.
Yeah.
You're a G, you know.
Honest.
So, yeah, that's something my brother had, because he had all of the qualities of like what's the word? Disciplined, tenacious, loving, fierce, but never dogmatic, and never telling you how to live, and never talking to me as a little brother as if I didn't know or didn't have my own compass. So that was fucking sick.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel he had, would you define him as like masculine? Like he was a good representation of masculinity for you?
I'd absolutely define him as masculine, but I'd also define him as someone who, like, he did an incredible job at compensating for some very difficult internal experiences.
Gotcha.
So, like, he had a broken home. All three of my brothers did, because my dad left their mum. They're my half brothers. And then he married again, and then eventually he married my mum and had me. So they all had a bit of a rougher start in that sense. They were provided for financially and had great educations, but they were like internally struggling with a lot of stuff. So they're all like highly intelligent, super talented in their own ways, but they've had stuff to overcome, as we all do. So my brother Tom, he was like stoic. He was like stoic and he really wanted to be strong, and he really wanted to be a good man. And the thing that I think a man like that could have used was a strong male figure to show him that, like, stoicism doesn't mean self-denial. It doesn't mean like crushing yourself under pressure and doing things for everyone else.
Yeah. It's like the punishment, hey?
Dude.
It's like, oh, in order to succeed, we've got to suffer. But it's like, how much suffering to what extent do you suffer without having it to be...
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I think it ends up in the body. I think that's what happens. You can mindset your way through a bunch of stuff, and you can keep pushing, and people will validate that, and you can
totally
give tremendously to the people around you. But I think there's something more we can aim for, which is to be the recipient of what we're giving at the same time as the giver. Maybe not all the time, but maybe if we can give from a place of wholeness and give from a place of like self-love and self-respect, then maybe it can be received more easily as well.
Fucking oath.
So
fucking oath. That's packaged in the gift. It's like that's a part of the gift is the love and intention and the wholeness, as you said, that is given. It's like that's there to be received as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Get what you give, kind of thing. But that intention behind it is so important. You know, the intention behind like what you do. Like someone could give you like a hamburger out of a place of love or something, or someone could give you a hamburger. It's like, I wonder what he'll give me back, you know. But it's the same gesture, but the intention behind it really, I think, creates the person and creates, you know, ripples out into the world as well, and creates a world that we want to live in. So I think that
100%.
importance of do you want to live from your heart and like, you know, and create a better world like that. So I think, the intention matters a lot, eh? And that's that just living consciously, I guess.
I want to know if I receive something from like one of you guys that it's good for you to give it to me as well. Like I want to know, it might inconvenience you, but I still want to know that it feels right for you.
Yeah.
And that you're like happy to be inconvenienced. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I receive so much more when I can see my friends benefiting from their service.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know,
How good is that,
there's a
though?
reciprocity and there's like, we all grow that way. It's like, it's not
I think so too.
you at the expense of me at the expense of you.
Transactional.
Yeah.
Yeah, win-win relationships where,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, hey, I'm receiving a win out of this and you are too, you know. Yeah, such a beautiful way to put that, and I love how you've had that brother of your stepbrother of yours to like be of influence to you for sure, and how you can see the part. But I love how you could see, you know, an aspect of where you were like, where I feel he could benefit more, or as an area as well. And so, would you say that area is that touch of feminine, like that integrated feminine piece there, where he could have shown a little bit more love to himself through some other practices in that area, or
Maybe this is something I think on a little bit, and I don't have my mind fully made up. It's like it's definitely associated with feminine, but I also feel like there's something about Jason Wilson. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. We could chat about him. He's got a dojo. He helps develop young men, like in the US. But he talks about being a comprehensive man. And he talks about a comprehensive man as someone who's like has the capacity to be stoic, but also can really appreciate the more ephemeral or beautiful or emotional aspect of life. And so, yeah, you absolutely want to be making peace with all of that within yourself so that you can see it outside of you and recognize that that's something to be cared for, not something to be afraid of.
yeah,
So, yeah, I guess you could say it's the feminine. But then another analogy or image that comes to mind is like the samurai, and how the samurai used to keep flowers. I don't know if I remember learning this like a few months ago.
Yeah. Right.
So you have these absolute warriors who would like take their own life rather than dishonor their creed, but they would keep flowers and pick flowers for themselves and smell them and carry them. So there's this idea of like what feminine and masculine is, which paints feminine as more floral and colourful, and masculine as more like hardened and protective and dark. And there's something there that can be beautiful, but I also think that it minimizes masculine and feminine to a degree. I think that someone comprehensive who's leaning into all of what they are will naturally polarize in like with their body. They'll attune to their body, they'll harmonize with themselves, and their health will increase. And if they're a dude, their testosterone will probably then increase. Do you know what I mean?
I'm fucking totally with you.
Like self-acceptance, if you are a man, will result in more masculinity, not less masculinity.
Yeah. It's not a matter of like trying to seek these new parts that's going to make you complete. It's more so a fact of like not ignoring those pieces of you that are coming up naturally within the body. So I feel like we've labelled it, we've talked about it as like an integrated man, which you would say is like the comprehensive. And I think it's so to have those qualities that would be labelled as feminine come up, like like skipping through. Sometimes I skip through the gym or something and it's like rather than refusing or denying that expression that has come up within me and then going, oh shit, no, that's out of masculine fucking integrity. It's like, no, that is me and my own integrity of divinity.
And the confidence that you can do that, like, just proves proves the masculine more.
Yeah.
I think,
That's what speaks through it to me. It's like, well, for him to be able to do that, how secure must he be in who he is?
100%.
A lot of the like modern manosphere masculine stuff is like, oh, these are the traits, and it's like people are chasing the symptoms. Like the symptoms of being a well-integrated man would be like perhaps a natural sense of bravery or expression or empowerment, but they're kind of chasing those external factors, but not the process that leads to them.
Yeah.
Chasing the symptoms, yeah.
That's
a good way of putting it.
You put like a pink tutu on an absolute, like on a dude who's like 110 kilos and ripped. Like, does he look like more or less of a man? He looks more jacked than ever. You know what I mean?
Yes, the polarity is so like, yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't matter. That stuff is less important, and what's more important is just like, are you choosing to be who you are?
Yeah.
Are you choosing to define what it is to be your own man, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, just accept it, accept what it is. I think that's the big thing as well. It's like, coming from here, it's just accepting and being comfortable with who you are, you know, and then you can access more of yourself and give more of yourself, you know?
Absolutely.
You're not blocking off areas, which is sick.
Yeah, man.
Beautiful lesson to leave the audience with before going. Just if this week, if you're going through it, just notice those moments where you're trying to avoid or deny whatever expression may come up within yourself, and then the story that you're telling yourself, whether that's too much of something or if it's not enough of something, and then ask yourself why am I denying myself that right. Nice little parting there, I feel. If people were to if you were to just part one last little piece of something that's been maybe present for you of recent, or you feel like you've been able to had an experience where someone's come to you and you've helped them tap into something for them as well, that you could sort of leave them with a piece of advice, a lesson that you're like, this will really benefit you, or this is something like that. Is there something that you want to share with the audience?
One that feels particularly present for me is to roll with your expression, or just witness whatever like reaction is happening, and then to like really draw that out and like roll with it, like bring it out, and then choose what to create from it and like use it as creative fuel, rather than to think, oh fuck, the wrong thing's coming up, better get that back in the box. Because then you can't really create anything with it. You're kind of out of your flow. You're kind of
suppressing.
And for me, that's been really big. I think it comes from not being afraid of what you might find in yourself, having the trust that you're the one watching who's consciously creating with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Thank you so much for
Cheers,
coming on and sharing all these nuggets of wisdom. It's been very enlightening, and I'm sure like I'll have many lessons coming through from that. And thank you. You got anything else
Cheers,
to
man.
say?
Thank you very much for coming, bro, and for sharing your value with the community. A couple of weekends ago, and guys are still talking about that event. I know I still am, and some people are still digesting it. Some people, it was a lot for them to receive. It's all new information to really be present with the body like that, and to fully go within.
It's quite interesting. Sometimes it can, for some people, it might seem far out there, but then it's contradictory. It's like almost the most grounded work there is.
It's like, whoa, this is mind-bending stuff.
That was different. It's like, some of the most grounded work there is. So it's like it's not really that far out there. It's just it's interesting. Like it's got that contradictory element to it, which is pretty cool.
That's what keeps me coming back. It's like, yeah. But thanks for making me feel so welcome as well. Like, it's an absolute gift to be able to step into a community like this where you guys are so receptive and you bring so much of your own culture to receiving. Like, you're showing who you are by the way that you invite people in, which is really fucking cool. Yeah, so I really appreciate this pod and the workshop and just getting to know you guys.
No worries, right?
Thanks, bro. They're lovely to receive. It's a welcoming home. We'll catch you on the next one, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Ciao.
Nice.